Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Boardroom, where, as always, we are having conversations with some of Malta's leading business minds. Now, today we're going to be having a conversation about female empowerment and women in the workplace. But first, as always, we are live on Facebook, so if you'd like to ask our interviewees any questions, please do add them below. If you don't manage to catch this live, worry not, this can be streamed back on who'swho.mt, Malta's leading business portal. Now, today's conversation, aside from being inspired by by the International Women's Day last week, was also inspired by a local study by Seed Consultancy that also came out last week. And that found that from 63 publicly listed companies in Malta, only one board is chaired by a woman, and only 11% of directors are female. That means that the number of boards with just one female or perhaps some females on are just 32. The rest are all male. That means that 31 out of 63 publicly listed companies in Malta have no female board members. Then at European level, there was a study recently in 2019, to be specific. The European Women on Boards Gender Diversity Index was launched, and this found that numbers aren't much better. So out of the 668 companies that were studied, only 34% have women on boards, and only 42 companies have a female CEO. So possibly quite sobering statistics there. And to help me have a little bit more of a conversation about this, allow me to welcome today's fabulous interviewees. They are Rebecca Bonnici, the owner and CEO of BELS Language School, Krystle Penza, who is the managing director of Mvintage Jewels, and Martina Zammit, who's the CEO and co-founder of Gadgets. Ladies, thank you so much for being with me on today's show. Great to see you. Great to welcome you. We're going to be having a slightly controversial, slightly difficult conversation today. And I know there are differing opinions on the panel already, but let's ease in. And Rebecca, I'm going to come to you first. So we've seen that report there from Seed Consultancy, and that found that of 63 publicly listed companies in Malta, only one board is chaired by a woman, and only 11% of directors are female. Now, does that surprise you? Do these sort of statistics stand out to you as being strange, or is this something that you would expect, Rebecca?
Well, am I surprised? Absolutely not. I've been playing in the field for 10 years, maybe a little bit more now, and I have been surrounded by men all of the time. It's sad that there aren't more women sitting at the top table with me. But no, it's not surprising. I mean, the reality is, before I use the expression, we are all woke women. The reality is we're very aware of our surroundings because of the nature of what it is that we do. So no, the statistic is not surprising to me, Joe, this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Martina, I'll come to you next. What about you? Does that statistic in any way surprise you, or like Rebecca, are you used to this now?
No, I'm very much like Rebecca. Obviously, I'm not surprised at all. Unfortunately, the situation is very, very bad. I do meet people that obviously try to downplay this whole thing of gender equality. But obviously, these hard-hitting statistics make us realize the crude and harsh reality we are facing. What I'd like to point as well, Joe, is I'm thankful of the fact that, only on Women's Day do I feel that these issues and these discussions are being brought up. So I'm really happy to be discussing it, not because it's Women's Day. I feel these issues need to be discussed throughout the year. And we need to be seeing some radical action in these statistics that you have just mentioned.
Brilliant, Martina, thank you. And we'll definitely come back to you. I'd love to hear about what you think those radical ideas should be.
Yes.
I'll come to you in a minute on that. And in the meantime, Krystle, great to have you on the show as well. And obviously, we were discussing these statistics slightly before we started our conversation here. Is there anything about that surprised you?
No, not at all. I mean, I through my own personal experience, I know how hard it has always been to manage to get up the ladder, and I've always, like Martina and Rebecca, worked in a male-dominated environment. I don't know, maybe my mindset was different. I never felt inferior in a way. But on the other hand, since especially I had my daughter becoming a mother, that took it to another level as well, like trying to maintain a career, and building up a business. It's very challenging. Like the social stigma especially like I went through towards a mother who works and can't be fully there. And I mean, also the support there is from society. When I started off, there was no support of childcare services. All I used to earn, I used to pay in childcare support. Yes,
it's difficult. It's difficult.
It's very difficult. And in fact, Krystle, I'll stay with you and just ask, and this will be a conversation, this will be a question to each of you. Do you think it is still harder to be a woman in business today? Krystle, what do you think?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's difficult. I think personally, it's the juggling of the mother and this, and the businesswoman in play. The guilt feeling, which I'm continuously tortured by, but although now, thank God, Francesca is 9, so that I have a bit less of. It's the time management, it's the expectations on us. It's but also the struggling, I'm not sure, but for example, when I have meetings with men, especially bank meetings, it's a nightmare. Like they always have to contact my husband after to make sure that there's I still struggle a lot.
Absolutely. I completely understand. I mean, it even infiltrates in other parts of life, doesn't it? I don't know about you, but I remember when I was doing up my home, it would even be things like the builder asking, so what does your husband or what does your father think about this? And I just remember being baffled, like, I don't know. I've got no idea.
At meeting, the only question that I was asked was how old I am.
Yes.
Or like I just did this whole presentation, this is all you have to ask me.
And that's all you have to ask.
But
absolutely.
I'm really puzzled because I think it's all in the mindset. This is all in how the way people perceive women's role, how they should be, and
agree.
I think we should start from a young age as well.
Absolutely,
completely.
Empower my daughter to believe that she's nothing less than a boy. Last time, she came crying from school, and I said, so she was very brave. And as soon as she walked in my office, she burst out crying. And I said, "What happened?" And she said, "Because a boy was telling me that I'm weak." And wrong person to have that conversation with, because I'm very. I'm like, he said you're weak, and he said, "Look, he was asking me to punch him," and he said that my punches are weak. And then
wow.
He kept telling her, "That's weak, that's weak, that's weak," and she felt bullied into the situation, and also because she goes to a mixed school. Mm-hmm. She's in class with Combinazione Rebecca's daughter, Nina. But because she felt, that she was considered as weak, she hit him hard then, and she hurt him, and she felt sorry that she hurt him. At the other end, you can imagine.
That's such an interesting analogy, isn't it, Krystle? Because we feel like sometimes we're being told we're weak, and then the second we start punching hard, then we're bossy. Then we're strong. I've certainly experienced that as a woman. Rebecca, I'll come to you. So, do you still think that women are sort of the downtrodden, the underdogs in this situation, and how much is our responsibility to keep pushing?
I can see Martina's face is like.
What is she going to say? What are you going to say?
Desperate to climb through the screen and get you.
We're only as downtrodden as we let ourselves be. Yes. I will use Francesca in this example. I mean, she was gentle in her first punch and her second punch. But when he turned around and said, "Punch me properly," and she bloody did, then good for her. And it's his bloody problem if he got hurt.
Yes.
We are only as downtrodden as we let ourselves be. Now I can sit here and I say, "Oh, mamma mia," I said, because I'm female and I'm a working mother, but really and truly I'm a working parent. My husband is also a working father, and we both juggle. And we both struggle with whether it is being a working parent, whether it is being a working woman or a working man. But my biology has predisposed me to obviously suffer a little bit more in the creation of these children, in bringing these children into this world. And like it or not, my children will still come to me a lot of the time rather than their father, even though he is as present as I am, because we have a closer bond, because they are girls. I don't know why it is, but because they come to me first.
Emotional figure, maybe.
This is it. So the reality is, I knew what I was getting myself in for, because I'm the product of a mom who said to me, you should be ambitious. I encourage your ambition. I will nurture your ambition, but you need to know that there is going to come a time when you're going to have to make decisions that your husband is never asked to make, because you are a female, because you are a mother, and because you've chosen to be a mother within the workforce. So I maybe had the luxury of having a mother who said to me, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. But I cannot say that I turn around today and regret bringing 2 girls into the world while opening a second English language center. Yes, it's been hard, and yes, I've struggled, but I think it's made me better and more successful at what it is that I've created together with my team. The reality is, yes, I stopped after I gave birth to both of my girls for a very brief period. Because my husband kicked me out of the house, and he said to me, go back to the office because you're driving me bonkers. And my girls, I was able to do this again because my parents, because my in-laws were happy to give me the support. I mean, as Krystle said, when it comes to childcare, and I don't want to make this more about working mothers but than working women, but childcare in our country is nowhere near as evolved as it needs to be in order to enable the mother to come back out into the workforce. So I was very, very lucky where both my parents and my in-laws were happy to say, bring the girls before they were of an age where they would have been accepted within a childcare facility. So I could go back to work and do what it was that made me a woman, that made me a wife, and that made me a mother. So yes, it was a struggle, but I chose to not dwell on it, Joe. I have to be very honest with you. I used it and I channeled it into my ambition.
I can imagine.
But can I ask a question to Becky? But how many women do you think push themselves forward, just like you did, Rebecca? How much confidence do women have in themselves to be pushing themselves forward? I bring the example of Francesca again. I mean, her first 2 punches weren't with all the confidence that my first punches and my second punch is going to be strong. It took sort of her third punch to be confident that she has strength inside. So these are, I feel, the problems that women have when it comes to entering the working world, the very, very low confidence in themselves. For some reason, I really believe that this is the ultimate problem of very low female representation in higher positions.
Teen, I think to answer your question, I would rather go to what I feel should be the ideal solution, going away from sort of the reason why we're sitting here today, which is to answer the question whether or not gender quotas should be established. I would rather go to the grassroots and say, we need to educate girls. We need to educate boys.
Definitely. Sorry, I'm jumping in. I definitely agree with this. So this needs to start from a very young age. I, on the contrary, agree fully with gender quotas. Why? Because there's a very big problem with seeing, let's just take the visual representation. So from a young age, girls are seeing on the news, on TV, on social media photos, if it's conference panels, if it's boardrooms, only men. Most of the men from a visual point of view are very male dominated. So how can a young girl be aspiring to be in high positions on boards, in parliament? So this is why I believe in gender quotas, and I really believe it needs to be for a very, very short period of time. I need to emphasize this. So I do believe in quotas, but maybe for the next 10, 20 years, when hopefully we can break this notion, and then hopefully when we do feel that there's higher representation of females, and then obviously we can eliminate the gender quotas. This is my argument, which I know Rebecca is not very does not agree with me.
Us women, we're capable, and part of Women in Power is believing in oneself, not just because there's a quota, but because we are as capable as men are.
We are, but why aren't we going, Krystle? Why aren't there females? I agree with you.
From education, for example, one thing that I would banish is boys and girls mixed, not having them mixed from an early age, because it's, as Rebecca said, is like boys have to learn how to respect women, and women get into the psychological understanding fact that we are capable as much as men are, auntie. Us women have so much potential, capable of multitasking.
Definitely.
Which I see from myself the resilience. Even as humanly we're built, we're much stronger. Like the fact that we can bear kids, our body and our resilience is stronger than that of men. Should I be saying this? No.
For it. We are better, we are stronger.
How did we end up into this situation? How? Because I can't even understand who made us believe that we are not capable. How are we sitting here today discussing why women should be equal to men? Like, in the first place, I can't understand how it happened to us.
I can, but it's going to get very, very controversial very, very quickly. Okay, fantastic. I love where this conversation is going. I love how much passion there is in the room. Before we started, that this was going to be a hard room to control.
Yes.
See that we're getting there. But see, Martina, I do want to come to you and sort of ask again. Currently, you and I are not parents right now, so we do not have kids.
No.
But still see that even beyond the sort of mother role and the sort of dual role that so many women play, which is, again, a massive barrier, I feel. Do you feel that even purely as women, there are barriers in the workplace?
Yes, unfortunately, and with me, I'm in the media industry, so maybe from a filming point of view, I see that it's very male-dominated, only males carrying cameras. The ICT industry, which I'm very much involved in too, with gadgets, any company we're dealing with is always very, very male-dominated. And I want to bring this example. What I'd like to say, it's probably not very obvious and sometimes very subconscious. We don't really realize that there is this gender politics issue around us. And a small example that I'd like to give is 12 years ago when Rachel and myself, Rachel is my business partner with V Squared, when we had our very first television project, it was Delhi. And we had to pitch this TV drama to a board, the PBS board. Once we entered the room, out of 12 people, 11 of these 12 people were men, and only one was a woman. Obviously, at that point, it wasn't, oh my God, there are only men over here. The subconscious feeling we felt was, do we belong here? Are we in the right place? Obviously, I'd like to emphasize that it wasn't anything the men said or did. It was nothing of the sort. We did obviously get the project accepted by PBS as well. But just seeing, again, I'd like to bring it up from a visual point of view of entering a room, and out of 12 of these people, of the board members, being 11 of them being men and just only one woman, left a very, very negative impact that I think still affects me till today. So,
and what do you think it was about you, Martina, that sort of enabled you to push past that? Because I've experienced that as well. But again, there is luckily something about my character that has always been, nope, just keep going. Ignore the fact that there are no other women in this room. Ignore the fact that you don't have any role models in this particular space that look like you. Just keep going and do your own thing. What do you think enabled you to do that?
Exactly the same, Joe, the same with me. I have that kind of character that the more of a challenge that I see in front of me, the more I like pushing. Obviously, not holding back is extremely important. So many doubts come along the way. You have a lot of people pushing you down as well. So it's very important to push yourself outside your comfort zone. It needs to come from you. I think the female empowerment we mentioned needs to be individual empowerment. So believe and empower yourself, because we all have the capabilities of reaching whatever we aspire to be, any dream we have, anyone, women obviously can be reaching their dreams.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, we're all of a very similar sort of educational generation, well, generation full stop, really. When we were growing up, I can't remember any female examples of business leaders that would have been role models for us. The great role models in my life would have been mothers, primarily, teachers, that sort of thing. Rebecca and Krystle, but I'll come to Rebecca first. Today, as mothers of girls, do you think girls have better visual role models from the early years? Can they see on TV and online other great examples of women who have achieved?
I think rather than better, I would certainly say more, Joe. The media has contributed in a very big way to this as well. I will concede that there are more women in higher places today than there were 30 years ago. But I think we also need to acknowledge that the media has brought those few women that there are closer to young girls. Barriers have been broken in that regard as well. The reality is probably my girls are much more aware who Kamala Harris is, thanks to the media. Before I was probably told that Mother Teresa is to be a role model. And I remember Helga Alul coming into school and talking to us and her being a role model for us. So we had role models from the religious, from the economic, also from the political. Let's not forget that even in our political history, we had some great female pioneers as well on both sides of the divide. So while we may have had fewer to look towards when we were coming up, they were certainly there, and they were certainly very, very worthy of taking note. And I just want to say, I feel like we keep circling back to education. And this is where I feel the key lies to empowering women, empowering children, not just women. Rather than giving them quotas, there have to be tot amount of Maltese people versus tot amount of foreign people on this board in order for us to appear better for some future IPO. Or there have to be more women for us to appear more sensitive, because the products that we are peddling are more soft. But I think what we need to say at the earliest ages possible, that you are worthy. You are worthy of whatever it is you put your mind to. Now, whether you are a man who decides he wants to be a ballet dancer, that is the softer side of things, or you are a girl who wants to become prime minister, or you want to become an entrepreneur or a CEO, or a mechanic, because God forbid you have a job that is a male job.
Yes.
I think the solution to our conundrum lies with holding genders equally accountable, educating genders that they are equally empowered. That does not mean that I am totally oblivious to the fact that we are not equally empowered, okay? Let's be clear. Well, I may be against quotas, Martina.
Martina can relax now.
I am not living in a world where unicorns fart glitter, okay?
Okay.
My life has not been cushioned and has not been easy. So don't think for one moment I have not had a man turn around and say to me, I don't know if I can use Maltese Joe, but it doesn't really translate as in such a sexist manner, when he says, "Mux aħjar tajt lilu jiġi biex jiffirma ħiċċek."
Ma, that's terrible, terrible.
Horrible.
And yes, my reply was,
why?
I can tell him to come, but he can sign the check, not a problem, but you go and try and cash it, and then we'll see where your problem,
Exactly.
Good one, Rebecca.
Exactly. We've had a comment here from Denise Cortez, who said that most women, to advance and to be able to obtain top positions, end up opening their own business, because in most companies the highest or top positions are still given to men in the majority. But she says slowly we will get there. So thank you, Denise, for your comment. Krystle, I'll come to you. What is your opinion? Do you think that for some women it is actually easier to open their own business and to drive their own career in that way than it is to go into an existing company, given the challenges that women sometimes face in the workplace?
I can answer to this from my own experience. At one point, I felt no one could understand. I worked in a very male-dominated environment, and as soon as, especially, I became a mother, there was I couldn't be understood because I needed more flexibility. I had support, as Rebecca was saying. My in-laws and my mother used to help me a lot with Francesca. But if she's sick, I tried, for example, at 8 months to send her at childcare, but her immune system was very low at that age. So what happened? She used to be very sick. So I had to, go back to trying to find how I'm going to manage. If she's sick, you don't want to leave her with she would want you being the mother, and then there's so many holidays, so many events you have to be with, and it was very hard. So in the beginning, I thought, all right, it's I feel that this could be a step that could give me more flexibility and to manage my mother duties together with advancing my own career. But after a while, you realize that in reality, you're putting more load, because then setting up the business was much more challenging than having a job in reality.
Of course, but it is often more flexible, and I think that's probably what, as you've said there, and I think that's probably what Denise is sort of leaning towards. It's the fact that, yes, it is very challenging to, as we've all done, start our own businesses, but it does give us that element of flexibility. And Rebecca, I'll come to you sort of with that in mind. Do you think that the easier route in some ways is to sort of start your own business? And on the back of that, what have you done in your business to make it easier for the women that you employ?
I think Martina's going to hate me by the end of
No, Rebecca. I mean, tell me, what are you going to say?
I think any person who opens a business has exactly the same challenges. The first one being cash flow.
No, I agree. No, here I agree.
Yeah.
Men or women face the same challenges, definitely.
That's it. And then I suppose as the company begins to grow, it's about governance, Joe. You can have a woman at the top who has policies to employ the best candidate for the best job. I mean, I was reading Simon Sinek recently, and they say you don't employ for skills, you employ for attitude. And the same, I think, applies when we're talking about gender roles as well. I think it's very important to keep this in mind. But the fact that I am self-employed, of course, means that when our country went on to its second bout of online schooling, I was able to say to my husband, it's fine. I will handle them for the first 2 weeks because I have a team whom I know will continue to fly the flag as proudly as they would if I was sitting with them in the office next door. So of course it's a luxury. Of course it's a luxury for a self-employed working mother to be able to state for the next 2 weeks, I'm not coming into work because I'm going to sit with my child in front of me and the other one 2 meters away. And the minute they need a paper printed, I'm going to get up and print it. As I said before, this morning, my 7-year-old said she needed a magnet, and I scoured the house to find the magnet. But I'm only able to do that because I have the luxury of being self-employed. And this is a very, very big struggle that working mothers have had to deal with, even single parents who happen to be men, for that matter, that when we go online, when we have the usual caregiver who is the grandparent who is now vulnerable to getting the disease and they cannot step in to help with all childcare centers closed, the employed person is struggling on an additional level. We're not just dealing with the stress of a pandemic, but we're also dealing with the fact that the employer is expecting deliverables regardless of the fact that your child is also expected to be delivering on the online school platform. So the reality is, yes, there is a luxury in being self-employed, but Joe, there's also a very, very big downside. I mean, I alluded to cash flow when it comes to setting up the business, but I have spent sleepless months thinking about the responsibility I have to my 35 odd employees and their families and all of the financial commitments that they've taken on. And I'm not saying that they don't worry about the success of my business and the sustainability of our business model in the longer term. But the reality is, when you're the decision maker, when you're the CEO, the worries, the concerns, the anxiety, the doubt is different to when you are employed.
That is an interesting point, isn't it? And Martina and I, we had a little catch up yesterday before this, and we touched upon that. Do you think as women we worry more about that sort of responsibility? Do you think that's another layer then of being a woman in a sort of leadership role, leading a company? Do you think we are more likely to put more pressure on ourselves to think about all of those things? Is that another layer to all of this? Martina, what do you think?
No, we do worry maybe slightly more, but it can be a good thing, I think, for when it comes to in a business point of view, sort of the concern that a woman has, not over a man. So I don't want to make this something women are better than men or men are better than women. I don't think this is the issue. The only thing I'd like to mention, I think, is maybe the fact that obviously me coming more from the IT industry, the ICT industry, which I feel is there's a very, very big problem, guys, over here. I think it was Dr. Lydia Bella who actually mentioned the statistic that in the ICT industry department at university, out of 350 graduates, only 50 are female. So this is, I think, the biggest problem we are facing. Why are less women taking up jobs in the tech industry? And the tech industry is probably is a thriving industry, especially nowadays, where the highest paid industry, and yet no women are in this industry. It's probably another good point about it is that this job is very easily done from home, remote working as well, so which makes it even more attractive to women, I guess, as you're saying, with mothers being involved. Yet we find less and less females in the ICT industry, and for me, I think this is one of the biggest things I'd like to change, and that is why I really believe.
And why do you think that's the case, Martina? What do you think it is? Is it just that women don't resonate towards that side of that type of business, or do you think it's that we're not, again, leading them, we're not, PRing it in the right way as
exactly.
a good option?
It's a very hard question. I don't think there's an answer, but you mentioned PR and the marketing side of things. I know it's a bit, but maybe even the way it is marketed, the way it is seen, can be a very harsh industry. Why don't we soften the tech industry and market in a way that makes it attractive to women? I believe that from a very young age that this is for boys and this is for girls. Whether you're at school or even in a toy shop, where you can realize, listen, okay, this is the science kits are only in the boy section, the blue section, and you have the dolls and everything in the pink section. So from there, you're already realizing that we are making a statement and saying this is for boys and this is for girls. And I think this is from where it needs to change, that there is nothing which is for boys and there is nothing which is for girls, and whatever you want, if you're as Becky was mentioning, you whatever, male or female, any industry or career you'd like to take up, you can do it.
You can go for it. Okay, so moving the conversation along slightly to sort of the term female empowerment. I'd love to come to you each and sort of understand what that means to you, perhaps in your role, whether as mothers, whether as sort of female role models in general. Krystle, coming to you first.
For me, it means enabling women, showing them that, that you believe in their capabilities. It's about being also like, because one thing which I struggle with as well, and it really hurts me, is when sometimes us women, instead of helping each other and lifting each other up, I see a lot of we call it the bitch talk, and it's really it really pains me a lot, because we're already struggling with everything we are going through, and I do understand. Like right now, for example, we mentioned homeschooling. How do you manage homeschooling and a job? And with parents, I mean, right now they're very, very worried sick. They don't want to be in touch with the kids because they're scared of COVID situation. So we need to be supportive with each other. We need to be more understanding. And when we have a woman that's succeeding in it is, we should be proud of her. We should lift her up, because I mean, especially as mothers, I feel that we have a very important role with our daughters, because we all this the empowerment is very much left. It's all in our hands, mainly because we don't have a lot of, as we said, all right, the media might be putting forward role models, but I still see that very much lacking with regards to women. So what I see it, what I try to do with my daughter, I try to, as much as possible, make her reach new boundaries. And when somebody reaches those new boundaries, whether it's in sports, whether it's in arts, whether it's in whatever it is, that woman has created new boundaries for all of us, new levels, for new benchmarks for all of us. If she made it possible, then I made it possible.
Exactly.
And I see other designers succeeding and managing, and creating products and making new stories. I'm happy for them, because I say, if she managed, then I can manage.
Absolutely.
But this is why, lifting each other up is very important.
And this is a slightly controversial topic that I think we do need to touch upon as well, which is that idea of women supporting other women, as opposed to just sort of stopping at the idea that it is men that is holding us back. Because there have been times in my career where it's actually been other women who have sort of been the ones to sort of place potential blocks in the road. So it is critical to discuss that as well. And in fact, Rebecca, coming to you, what does this idea of female empowerment mean?
I think, again, I show my roots very, very, very much when I answer questions about this topic. I mean, coming from the educational industry, I will always circle back to using education to empower. I think it is key. I run language schools, so I have less of an opportunity to empower children, as it may be. However, one of the main things we do is empower through language. It's important to have equal tools for empowerment. And I think language can be one of them, but there are so many other tools. Now, whether we're talking about the softer side of skills or the intellectual or the psychological as well. But I think we stand to empower better, regardless of age, by making sure that we have the tools at the ready. Not only that, but that we hold up each gender to equal measure. Yeah. And this is currently, for me, one of the biggest hot topics with my lady friends and with my very opinionated male friends, that invariably, I mean, I am a feminist through and through, Martina, believe me, but what I am championing is equal standards for the genders across the board. The reality is, that is the only thing I'm asking for. I want the same amount of opportunity, but I also want to be judged on the same scale. That's all I am about, really.
But we have a massive problem, Rebecca, so we need to address it. Before we can get to where you're saying, we need to do something which, yes, as I call it, a necessary evil, because I think that's what how I would label the gender quotas. It is a necessary because it's needed, but at the same time, it is obviously a negative thing. But to get to where you're saying, something needs to be done, because as it stands, I feel in our lifetime, and it's a very scary thing to just think about, I would like to see, at least myself, I would really like to see a change. I mean, once we started this conversation, the statistics that we had, and we are in 2021, are a very, very sad situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is sobering. It's so interesting hearing you both, because I agree with both sides of that conversation, both sides of that sort of gender quota coin. And when I still don't quite know where I sit, I definitely agree that I think we have to get uncomfortable about forcing ourselves in a way into a place where we can actually show what can be achieved when women are in leadership roles. Because I think when we do, clearly things change very, very quickly. But I agree with Martina that we have to get there first, and then hopefully
exactly.
Martina, what I feel like, if I get a position just because of quota, would that be empowering to me, knowing that I get there because I deserved it, because I didn't work hard for it?
The challenge I see is that would you, at this moment, without the quota, would you be considered for it at all? Because I know so many worthy women who should be on boards, and I'm pretty sure the reason they aren't is because nobody's even thought that they would.
Exactly. It's the mentality. The mentality.
Exactly. But sometimes it's us as well. Like
us. Also, the situation.
With 7 men directors, and I was still 25. And I used to really feel like the first time I mean, before I never thought there's a difference. You know, my head, I never think I'm different to men.
Yes.
So it's a mindset. I'm not intimidated by men at all. I mean, on a general basis, sometimes, yes, I do feel that, especially when they look at you and they're not looking at you, and I went through it as well. But
aside from your own company, Krystle, and I don't know the answer to this question, so I might stand to be corrected. Aside from your own company, have you been invited to sit on any other boards?
Exactly. This is another thing.
I did.
Because I haven't. Rebecca, have you?
I invited myself, actually.
Yes, I have invited myself, but I know so many of my male friends who are in a similar category to myself, and my very successful female friends who are invited regularly to sit on boards that I have not been invited to sit on. And that, for me, doesn't sit right.
Agreed. Totally agree. It's just a mentality. It's a societal stereotype that we need to break, because but it's done subconsciously. That is what we need to think. So it's not because there aren't capable women or anything. That, unfortunately, because we visually, again, I need to mention this, visually see that men, the first thing that comes to mind is for us to be asking men to take up certain positions, or asking men to be on certain discussion panels. So this is why I really believe we need to break this barrier.
Question of Francesca. Like, the story of Francesca. If Francesca at that point thought she really was weaker, and did not give the big, she decided that she had to show him that she was a strong girl. So I think it's all in the mindset. I can't tell you yes, because in my career, in my life, I was always treated different because I was a girl. But did I? And this is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Did I get people to treat me differently? In my mindset, did I position myself weaker or less strong or less capable than the men on the table? That is what we have to ask ourselves. And I think for us to we don't just have to expect men to treat us differently. We have to start the change through our own mindset.
Absolutely.
And support each other.
Yes, and
holding up each other's crown.
Yeah, I think it's three-pronged, isn't it? It's believing in ourselves and putting ourselves out there. It's supporting other women, and it is, in some ways, making sure that other women are visible to be in the places that they should be. Okay, so as we come to the end of this very impassioned and fantastic conversation today, I'd like to round up by asking each of you for that one bit of advice or a tip that has resonated with you as you've gone through your career. So something that maybe you feel did empower you to become who you are today. And Krystle, I'll start with you.
I've always worked very hard. I think success comes with hard work and passion. Love what you do, like Steve Jobs says, and always find what you love doing, passion for what you do, and always honesty in business.
Thank you, Krystle. Great tip. Rebecca?
Can I use Maltese again?
You can.
Kunx presuntuża. My parents always said this to me, and I will never forget it. The underlying tenet to it all is don't be arrogant. Don't presuppose that you have a right to be sitting at any table, your own or anyone else's. When you don't know, it's okay to not know. Say you don't know, do as I do, employ only people who are more intelligent than I am. And just go with the flow.
That's wonderful. Great advice. And Tina, coming to you last.
I'm going to ask Rebecca, but because I'm curious to know. So when I say, if I would say, listen, my advice would be confidence. Is it being presuntuosa? Because I really believe. Because I really believe that, unfortunately, we do get a lot of doubts when we come up with any business idea, and we need to present it to management, and we need to present it to the team, and we need to present it. So again, being confident there. So there's the confidence from the beginning, from the initial process to the very end process. My advice would be confidence. Yeah. And it's very hard. It's very hard to lose your confidence. And even though the project or the idea wouldn't have gone the way you wanted it to be, to have gone, I still think we need to look back and be proud that we made that idea happen, despite the problems we might have encountered, and maybe it's being even embracing failure is another thing that we need to be. Listen, it's okay. We might have made a mistake. It's something which. Exactly, us women think, oh no, it might not work out, so I better not do it. So I prefer not trying it out, and rather than failing. So this is my advice. So don't be afraid. Whatever you believe you want to do or become, is just go out there. The world is your oyster, and just do anything it takes to become what you always wanted to be.
Fantastic. Love that advice there from all of you. Okay, Rebecca, the last point.
Because she asked me a question.
Yes, I did, and I just kept on answering the question. Go for it.
I think my answer would be confident, be bold, and recognize there's a difference between confidence and arrogance.
Yes, agreed, completely. Yes.
Excellent.
We should meet up again, because this conversation, obviously, there's so much more to say, and would love to continue discussing
this
it.
Conversation can definitely carry on. And ladies, I'm sure I'd love to have you on again. Great to carry on this conversation. Important to inspire all those women out there watching, and of course the men too, who are watching, looking for ways to be better leaders to their female employees as well. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thanks, Joe.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And to all of you watching at home, thank you, or at the office, thank you for being with us on The Boardroom. I look forward to seeing you next time.